despite the fact that we were ranked #1 in the world of any country for preparedness for a pandemic, we were not adequately prepared. But I will tell you at the outset, I do not think the media and many of our leaders are doing a very good job of providing contextual sophistication with regard to this. This pandemic is going to have a serious adverse effect on our economy, not just in the short term, but it's going to have a tail effect over time, because unfortunately, about 50% of Americans for several decades have not had adequate savings, and therefore they're essentially living paycheck to paycheck, and they're going to have to be able to deal with the implications of this for quite some time. This pandemic demonstrates that the world is indeed a small place, that geopolitical boundaries don't matter a lot when you're dealing with public health issues, when you're dealing with environmental issues, when you're dealing with financial market issues, and when you're dealing with a variety of other issues. So increasingly, we're going to have to work on a global cooperative basis to deal with these shared challenges. And we're also going to have to do the same thing within the United States. Even though we're a republic and we're a combination of 50 states and the federal government, we're going to have to work together better. Secondly, we're overly reliant on China and other countries for providing critical materials, prescription drugs, as well as materials that are critical for our national security, like rare earth metals. And we're going to have to rethink that. And in the longer term, we may end up having more things come back on shore, so that could help us longer term. But in the short term, it's hurting us. I think the coronavirus also demonstrates that, many times Congress will act in a crisis management atmosphere. When things happen that you don't expect, you do whatever you have to do, especially when public health is involved. We've already had 3 pieces of legislation pass, and there's a 4th one that's likely to pass. And the combined cost of all these 4 pieces of legislation will be at least $3.2 trillion. $3.2 trillion. Now, how much is $3.2 trillion? It's 15% of gross domestic product before the downturn, and there will be a downturn. So we already had financial challenges before the coronavirus. They're being accentuated by the coronavirus. And one of the things that we need to realize is that while we can, we must, and we will prevail over the coronavirus, that there is another serious affliction that affects this country, and that is fiscal irresponsibility. And that will adversely affect many more Americans over time than the coronavirus ever will. And I continue to be dedicated to trying to make sure that something gets done about that over time. And hopefully No Labels and others that are supporting No Labels will continue to do that as well.